We go back to April the 28th of the year 2023 when the Milwaukee Admirals were taking on the Manitoba Moose in Game 1 of their best-of-5 series. Coach Carl Taylor deploys his lines in the following way. Schneider, Jankowski, and Tomasino make up your first line for the Milwaukee Admirals. Sherwood, Sanford, and Evangelista. Leonard, McCarron, and Rushoff. Huntington, Angelo, and Afanasyev make up your fourth line. Gravel and Stastny are your top defensive pairing. Delgado and Thompson, Willsby, and Gross make up the rest of your defensive pairings. And Askarov gets the start in net for the Milwaukee Admirals. And that's where we start. Just 23 seconds into the first period, Askarov comes up with a save on Harkins, the first shot on goal of the series. It would be at 42 seconds when Cormier would come with a save on Willsby. That would be the Admirals' first shot on game. 1:35 into the first period. Delgado's first goal of the season gets Milwaukee on the board over Manitoba, 1-0. It was McCarron's drop pass leading to a long shot that finds its way to the back of the net past Cormier. At 4:28 of the first period, Askarov comes up with a save on Meyer. At 5:58, Bongiovanni's off to the box. 2 minutes for high sticking. That's when the number one power play in the AHL of the regular season takes over for the Milwaukee Admirals, and Sanford is converting for the Admirals. His first goal of the playoffs gives the Admirals a 2-0 lead over the Manitoba Moose. It was a one-timer from the high slot, bar down. Just a slick ripper right here by Sanford. At 8:19, though, the Admirals are not done. It would be Huntington jamming the puck into the net on the rebound follow-up. He found it along the goal line before anybody else could. His first goal of the playoffs gives Milwaukee a 3-0 lead before we get to the first television timeout and break. In the first game of the series in the playoffs, the Admirals have managed to put 3 goals in. That's the end of the night for Cormier. He's out, and Holm is back in. Holm, of course, had plenty of regular season experience against this Milwaukee Admirals team. 10:15 into the first period now. Askarov comes up with a save on Bongiovanni. At 10:34, McCarron off to the box. 2 minutes for tripping a very strong PK. As a matter of fact, the Ads had the best chance by Sanford shorthanded. 16:19, Angelo's off to the box. 2 minutes for interference. The PK, just simply incredible right there. Would not give up a single shot on goal against. We hit the end of the first period. The Manitoba Moose are out shooting the Milwaukee Admirals 11-8, but the Admirals are leading 3-0. Admirals kind of shut it down there towards the end of the first period, and we'll see a lot of that here in the beginning of the second period as we go all the way to the clean sheet. We're all the way to 3:19 in. That's where we find Harkins from Manitoba on a breakaway, and he goes 5-hole for the finish, beating Askarov. His first goal of the playoffs gets Manitoba on the board for the first time. Milwaukee now with a 3-1 lead in this game. At 3:19 of the second period, which is exactly the same time the goal was scored, which means this took place on the face-off before they could resume play, we saw a whole big mess start to break out. Toninato and Angelo are off the box. 2 minutes for roughing. That leads to a 4-on-4. Those two were lined up to take the face-off, and they kept headbutting each other and leaning in really hard. That led to, of course, a face-off dispute, if you will, and both players ended up in the box. Now, in the 4-on-4 scenario, we see Ford pick up a penalty. 2 minutes for hooking. That leads to a 4-on-3 for 37 seconds. But then we see Lundmark pick up a penalty, 2 minutes for tripping. So now we have a 5-on-3 for 1:23 in favor of the Admirals. And the Admirals were just buzzing when this penalty was called, and the Admirals had total control of the puck. So I don't understand why the whistle was blown at this point in time, but it was. And so we have to move on since this is just a game recap. Gross would pick up a 5-on-3 goal for the Admirals, his first of the playoffs. It was a one-timer off of Evangelista, slick cross zone feed. It gives Milwaukee a 4-1 lead, and the special teams extravaganza finally would come to its conclusion in a couple of minutes. 7:58 of the second period. It's Rushoff's first goal of the playoffs. It's a wrist shot surprise from out of nowhere, giving the Milwaukee Admirals a 5-1 lead over the Manitoba Moose. At 8:54 of the second period, Askarov comes with save on Limoges. At 10:03, Gross, his second goal of the game, second goal of the playoffs. It's a wrist shot off the rush for the Milwaukee Admirals. And at this point, literally everything they throw at the net is finding its way in. 6-1 in favor of the Milwaukee Admirals here in the second period. It would be a long stretch before anything would happen again, as it seemed like the Manitoba Moose were stunned, maybe a standing 8 count for them right here, and the Admirals kind of took their foot off the gas right here. That's why Askarov comes up with a save at 17:27 on Stewart, but at 19:16, I don't like this play. Torgerson comes up with his first goal of the playoffs for the Manitoba Moose. He simply fired it in from the red line, and he beat Askarov glove side. It's a goal that should never happen, but if it's going to happen, it better happen when you have a 5-goal lead. It was a bad goal to give up from the red line just before the end of the second period. Momentum goals. First minute of a period, last minute of a period. I always say they carry more weight, they carry more momentum than other goals do. And this one may do just that, even with the score being what it is. 6-2 in favor of Milwaukee in 40 minutes. Manitoba out shooting Milwaukee 19-18 after 40 minutes. Now, we go into the clean sheet. We hit the third period, and it is the Moose, and they are buzzing. They are generating pressure. They picked up that cheap goal at the end of the second. Now they're using that momentum to buzz all over the ice. They're all over the place. Askarov is getting the work. We go to 3:44 of the third period. That's where all hell breaks loose behind the play. Manitoba was putting some heavy pressure on. The puck goes down the ice, and then suddenly we hear a whistle. We pan the camera back down the ice, and behind the play, we see a lengthy scrum breaking out. It would lead to numerous penalties, and ultimately saving you some of the work here, it would lead to a Manitoba Moose power play. Now, this would also then lead to McCarron taking a 2-minute slashing penalty, leading to a 5-on-3 for 1 minute and 21 seconds for the Manitoba Moose. And I've got to tell you right here, I've come to like Michael McCarron quite a bit with his time with the Nashville Predators. This was an irresponsible, and I rarely use the words dumb or stupid because players make mistakes in the heat of battle, but this was preventable. This was a retaliation slash 200 feet away from your own net when you were already on the PK. Put the team in a bad spot right here, but that's exactly why you have Askarov. He comes up with numerous saves during this shorthanded sequence. As a matter of fact, after this power play was over for Manitoba, the shots on goal for the third period alone, 12-2 in just 7 minutes. 12 shots on goal in just 7 minutes for Manitoba. Now, we go to 9:47 on the third period, and Askarov is coming with a save on Meyer. And Milwaukee, at this point, I made the note, they're trading shots for seconds. It's simply not the best strategy. They have largely closed down their offensive side of things and are just now trying to bleed the clock and hoping Askarov can continue to do the work. And at 17:08, I make the comment that he continues to do the work. Comes up with a big save on Chisholm and continues being, frankly, overworked in this period. It would continue that way for the final couple of minutes of the game, and Milwaukee would close things out 6-2. 6-2 victory for the Milwaukee Admirals in Game 1 of the series. So in the rest versus rust debate, rest obviously wins out because the Admirals came out buzzing in this game, had a 3-0 lead, and frankly never looked back for a second. Did they take their foot off the gas in the third period? They sure did, and I'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the analysis portion of things. But the only thing that matters at the end of the day is that the Milwaukee Admirals won this game, and they won it in convincing fashion, 6-2. One bad goal for Askarov, completely nullified by the victory. They were outshot, though. Milwaukee outshot by Manitoba 37-24. That means Askarov had to come up with 18 saves in the third period. Now listen, in a close game, that's asking too much of your goaltender. In a blowout, it's asking too much of your goaltender. You shouldn't put the goaltender under that much intense pressure. But Askarov proved he was up to the task, and it was excellent to watch him. He made some incredible saves. Of the 35 saves that he did make in this game, there was at least a half a dozen that were last second leg kickouts or shoulder moves or very, very, very slight movements that were able to come away with, frankly, otherworldly saves. Askarov looked great in this game. So rest versus rust. Rest wins. Milwaukee Admirals win 1-0 lead in the best-of-5 series. 3 games in the series, 3, 4, and 5 on home ice. Game 2 coming up on Sunday afternoon. The Admirals can take a stranglehold on this series. Remember, second year in a row, these two Central Division rivals have met in the playoffs. Last year, the Admirals secured the victory in 5 games, their first playoff series victory since 2011. Admirals buzzsaw last night, looking to do more than just win a first-round series against Manitoba this year. But we talk about Game 2 coming up next. We also go back and we finish analysis, and we give you the box score opinions and the Renegades of Puck all in the trenches. That was the Rebirth Sports full game recap. Back in a moment with all the rest.